Hey,
Good morning. Good morning.
how you doing, my friend?
You doing all right? Sound like you're breaking up a little bit.
Am, am I breaking up?
Oh, you sound good now. You sound great now. It was breaking
How
up. I
you,
don't know if it's just on my end or your end. I'm not sure.
how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man.
Good to see you.
Life.
We're right in the heat of the summer, right in the meat of the summer here, end of June. It's a good time
Yeah.
of year. It's a good time
It
of year.
was really hot down in Texas last week, but this week has been tolerable. It's been pretty tolerable this week. But yeah, man, it's been sunny. My back feels better. It's getting better each day.
Good, good. I'm
You know,
glad
I
to hear that.
got some more family in town this week. My wife's family came into town, and that's been awesome because it's their first time coming to visit us. So I'm excited. So it's been a blessed June, man, to have my grandkids last week, and then have my wife's aunt and uncle come down this week. So all I can say is, man, it's been great. What about you?
Well, we're going to be going on a little vacation, beginning
Oh,
Saturday,
nice.
Sunday. Sunday, we got church in the morning, then we have a rehearsal. I have a band rehearsal in the afternoon, and then I'm going to get out of town for a few days, and I
Oh,
plan on
okay.
doing almost absolutely nothing.
Going anywhere
I'm
special?
gonna bring some books, and I'm gonna do some reading. So that's about it. I'm gonna
Okay.
look at the lake, look at Lake Erie.
Okay.
There's a place that my family and I used to go all the time called Lakeside.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
It's near Marblehead,
Yeah,
and
I've been up there.
okay. It's
Yeah.
we like to go there. It's just it's a very relaxing place. So
Yeah, no TVs or anything. You just relax. I don't know if they have TVs now, but in
They
the
have TV.
80s,
They have
in the
TV.
in the 80s, I went. They didn't have TVs in the 80s when we were little. Um, it was like
I don't think they did. I don't think they did. I don't think they really did. If they did, they had those little, the ones where you can only get the local channels. And so I didn't. I'm not going to watch TV there anyways.
yeah,
I mean,
no,
they have cable with in because we're staying in a hotel. Um,
yeah.
since we're only going for 3 nights.
Are you staying
If
right
we
on Lakeside, like right on the like this
We're
the
staying
main?
in Lakeside, yeah.
Yeah, there was this. I'm not sure. I can't try to remember if it was one building or not at that time, but it was like in the early '80s. We had went because we went on the fish. We, my mom, dad, my sister, we went fishing up there
Yeah.
around the Marblehead area, and
Uh-huh.
we
Uh-huh.
stayed. And we got in the room. First thing a kid does is go to the TV. My mom was like, "No, it's not that kind of vacation. We come in here to relax, take our mind off of everything." And that was the oddest thing for a kid, but it was the most enjoyable trip we probably had. It
Yeah.
was awesome. So I hope you have a great time up there, man.
Oh, we will. We will.
Yeah.
The I think we're trying to get Bria on. We're trying to get her
Yeah,
on
I'm,
here.
I'm sending
So
her. I just sent her the code.
okay.
That's one thing about this younger generation. You give them everything they need to get through, and it's like, oh, I forgot. So I know she had the code to get to the email. Where you log in every week. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we gotta have a little tutoring session
I
with
don't
her.
know. I don't know. We start with a tragedy. We
Man,
start
that
with
was
the
awesome.
Florida building condos. I call it apartments, but just because it's easier to say. But the
Yeah,
apartment building that collapsed on people, 50 people were trapped or missing or killed, and they're still searching the rubble. This is like 9/11 kinds of stuff here. Um,
yeah.
People, they got the dogs in the rubble
I
trying to
saw
find
that.
people. They got listening devices trying to find people. Yeah, so this is heartbreaking. It really is.
That's a
I'm
dangerous
getting
job.
like an echo. I'm getting like an echo. Are you getting like an echo?
I do
I
hear
hear
that
that.
like a little bit.
Oh, what's going on? Okay.
Hold on one second. I don't think you're coming through my speakers. Let me hear you talk again. Keep talking.
Testing, testing, testing.
Yeah, you're just in my headphones,
Okay.
so it's not out here.
Well,
I did hear that.
I'm sure that many of you have seen the video footage. I'm not sure if you've seen this. This is a captured video a few blocks away of when the building actually fell. So here it is.
Mm, mm, mm.
Then you see all that smoke and things.
Right, right. Man, that
Here
is
it is
horrible.
again in
That is
slow
horrible.
motion. But
And I've been down in that area, man. I'm not sure if I've actually seen that building, but I've been right there. 'Cause I've been to Surfside a couple of times.
so I mean, could you imagine being woken up by that in the early morning hours and
Mm,
uh, the the uh, the apartment around you just completely collapses.
yeah.
So it's something to think about, something to pray for. It's something that we can all get behind and agree on that this is something that people need help about and people need support. So please continue to pray for these people and that they can find more of them, that they can find more of them alive, that they can find and help these people.
I just had this picture, man. It looks so crazy. Check this picture out of the same. It's the overview of that area after everything has been torn down there. Check this out, man.
Oh my God! Wow!
You think about you think of this after everything been they've been
Wow!
working and man, I can't
And this
I
is the kind
can't
of things you see in the developing world. Sometimes you see like a huge building fire or something like
yeah,
this, and it's not something we're used to seeing
yeah,
too much in this country. But we
yeah,
still don't know what the cause of this is.
yeah.
I mean,
Um you hear all the different possibilities of why, but regardless of why it happened, you want accountability for why it happened. But the families the part that hurts me, that made me think that I can't even imagine me going through, is you sitting back wondering if your loved one was killed in that or not, or got out safely.
yes, yes,
And to make me think, I'm thinking that the ones that are missing are probably dead is because by now you would have contacted some help. Let people know that you're okay. And me sitting back as a family member of that loved one, thinking like, "Wow, I haven't heard anything." And then you start thinking the worst. I can't imagine that, man. That was like not in comparison to the same thing was when Success Tech School in Ohio in Cleveland had that school shooting, and my son was in that school, and I'm
Okay.
sitting back thinking like, I did. This was like before cell phones had
When
the.
did this happen?
This was like 2008 maybe
Okay. Okay.
2009 2008. Success Tech in downtown Cleveland. It was a high school my son went to, and they had a school shooting down there, and a guy shot to like one of his best friends and shot two teachers.
Mm,
Then he killed himself in my son's English class.
wow.
And so the student, the thing about sitting back as a parent, wondering if your kid was hurt,
Yeah.
and you don't have any way of knowing if he's hurt, and you're waiting. And I'm all the way out in Willoughby, waiting to hear news.
Wow.
And my ex-wife at the time, she worked downtown, so she was able to walk to the scene and
Wow. Really?
waiting to
Oh my
hear,
God.
waiting to see. And finally, she saw my son, and she ran and hugged him. But when you're having a tragic accident, a tragic event like this apartment building collapsing, and you're waiting to hear news that your loved one is okay, that is
Yeah.
heart-wrenching. That is heart-wrenching.
It is. I can't imagine that. So imagine the anxiety. There's still 159 people unaccounted for, and this is as of this morning. So, 159 people still unaccounted for. Um,
That's that's something, man.
so a shout out to the workers, a shout out to the first responders,
Oh yeah,
rescue personnel, the
yeah,
fire teams that responded to that, and we pray for their safety as well because it's dangerous.
yeah.
1:30
And
in the morning it happened.
you know what's really like a hero's effort who needs great applause for these people around the world who go into these dangerous situations like that to search for people, and
Hmm.
knowing that that building could collapse on
Yeah,
them
they could
while
collapse
they're
on
in
them.
there.
Yeah, it's dangerous, dangerous work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So it's
applaud those people. That's an honorable. Those people should be honored. That go in and rescue others out of dangerous situations, knowing that they can be killed the same exact way.
yep, yep.
Avalanches, all that stuff.
So you have to be very, very careful when you're searching the wreckage. So it's very painstaking work.
Yeah.
So apparently, here's some more details about this. An inspection from 2018, so almost 3 years ago, October 8th, in the fall of 2018, found, quote, abundant cracking in the spalling of the columns, beams, and walls in the garage under the
I did hear that.
tower that fell to the ground. Um, so deterioration of the concrete. Um, and nothing was done, apparently.
Yeah, I did. Isn't it the same thing happened to the bridge in Minnesota? Remember that bridge that
Yeah, I
collapsed?
remember that. Yeah, a couple years
Same
ago.
thing. And after that, a lot of because we had our bridges redone in Ohio, in downtown Cleveland, the one going from the east side to the west side. Which one is that? The Carnegie Bridge, the
Uh,
Carnegie Bridge, or Detroit Bridge? One of the two. It
yeah,
goes
I
from
think
the east
so.
side to the west side. They
Hmm.
worked on that bridge for a long time, but I think that's when people start after that one bridge collapsed in Minnesota. People start really getting it. Oh, look at this! Is she getting on the air? Look at this!
Hi.
Hey,
I
I
wasn't
knew
got
ready.
the
it.
camera working this
Hey,
morning.
I was
Got
just
the
gonna
what's
camera.
hang
going on?
back.
Oh, look at
Hello.
you. How you doing today? Great seeing you.
Good. Hi. How are you guys?
Doing
We're
great,
good. We're
doing
good.
great. We were talking
So
about the Florida building.
Oh yeah.
this
Yeah, I
this
saw
is why
that.
we need infrastructure in this country. I mean, that would
Yeah,
seem to be a home run. And
yeah.
we got to argue about it because that's what we do. We got to argue about it.
Do you
Um,
think this will push the bill through now with no problem?
I think it's going to help, but I'm not sure that it's an apartment building, so it's privately owned, so it's not going to be something
Right,
under the
right.
public domain. But still, it makes you wonder.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
how many bridges out there, how many buildings out there, how many roads out there that need repair that could
yeah.
mean life or death. It could mean life or death.
I know someone who they were driving their car in a city, and Bria knows the situation. Driving her car in the city, and the ground, the pothole, a pothole big enough for your car to go down in, like a sinkhole, just drops. And this individual
Ridiculous. Wow.
this person has had several knee replacements due to this accident.
Who is this?
Your Aunt Jackie.
That's what happened to her?
Yeah.
I did not know that that's what happened.
Yeah. It was a
That's sad.
city issue. It was a pothole that collapsed where her car went into this thing and it jacked her knees up.
I did not know that is what happened to
She
Aunt
battled
Jackie.
the city for years. Yeah. So yeah, you can talk to her about it. I just didn't want to just put her name out there like, publicly like that. But
sorry.
yeah, no, I just said the first name, so it's not like I'm putting out the last name and everything. So, but that was the same infrastructure situation within the city where the street wasn't maintained properly, and it just dropped.
Wow.
And her car was damaged. Her knees. She's had several knee surgeries. So you look at people around and the thing about it with potholes, people get hurt with potholes every year, and the city takes no responsibility. I mean, you have to be really seriously injured before the city take responsibility. But they'll tell you your car getting messed up is nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, I have a friend.
See, that's wrong. That's wrong because can you claim that in your insurance? That hey, I hit a pothole in my city, in my town. That
no, there is actually a form you can. There's actually a form that you can fill out. I have a friend who we were driving home from. We used to work late nights at. I don't know if you guys ever been to the west side
of Cleveland,
Penn Station.
Yeah.
Penn Station. I used to work there, so I used to live on the west side. Coming home from Penn Station.
I was on Lorraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My friend hit a pothole, and I saw the whole thing in my rear view. Like, she hit a pothole, and the whole bottom of her car fell off.
Wow.
Like, this pothole was enormous, and the whole bottom of her car fell off. And then my mom at the time was working for the City of Cleveland Law Department, and she actually was able to tell me how to help her. So there's a form you have to fill out. But you have to prove that the city knew. So you have to do some research. You have to prove that the city knew that damage was on the street before you can fill that out. So if you can prove that they knew that it was there, which I'm sure they did, that pothole was enormous.
Yeah.
And you can fill out a form, and there's like a process that you go through. And I don't know exactly how it works or if it worked for her, but.
I didn't know that.
Did her insurance cover it?
I didn't know that.
I don't think that insurance will cover if you hit a pothole.
No,
the city has to reimburse you, I think, or sue the city.
Yeah, they will. You pay for your repairs, and then they will reimburse you for it, or supposed to.
Wow, because that could be not only the damage to your car, but medical care for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole bottom of her car fell off. It was really, really. It was like scary. I'm like, oh gosh, little sparks and stuff.
So basically, her car was totaled.
Yeah, because I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but I don't think I saw her driving that car again. So possibly. Yeah.
Looking at this apartment, it almost looks like a bomb could have gone off. I'm not saying that it did. Not saying that it did, but it looked like Oklahoma City all over again.
Last night they were talking.
Just complete collapse.
You mean they were asleep, and then
it was 1:30 in the morning.
They were talking to some of the families that had missing relatives. Yeah. It was just really sad. So like Anderson Cooper and Chris Kawama were out there on the ground, and they were talking to some of the families. It was really sad.
Yeah.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Gregory.
Hello.
Good morning, Greg. How you doing? How you doing, man?
So a shout out to all those people out there watching us. Shout out to my friend Jack and everyone out there. So Derek Chauvin was sentenced. Chauvin was sentenced this week. 20. Yeah. I'm sorry. Was it 26 years?
22 and a half.
Sorry, 22 and a half. I had a mental block there. 22 and a half years.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Let's go ahead and show the video. Let's go ahead and show the video and come back, Bria. You see the video there? Called Trial.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and get the video in, and we'll discuss it after we see the video.
Okay.
Yeah, there's plenty to
I
talk about.
am the mother of Derek Chauvin. I am here to speak on behalf of my entire family. On November 25th, 2020, not only did Derek's life change forever, but so did mine and my family's. Derek devoted 19 years of his life to the Minneapolis Police Department. It has been difficult for me to hear and read what the media, public, and prosecution team believe Derek to be an aggressive, heartless, and uncaring person. I can tell you that is far from the truth. My son's identity has also been reduced to that as a racist. I want this court to know that none of these things are true and that my son is a good man.
I'm not going to attempt to be profound or clever because it's not the appropriate time. I'm not basing my sentence also on public opinion. I'm not basing it on any attempt to send any messages. A trial court judge, the job of a trial court judge is to apply the law to specific facts and to deal with individual cases. And so, Mr. Chauvin, as to count one, based on the verdict of the jury finding you guilty of unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony under Minnesota Statute 609.19 subdivision 2 paren 1, it is the judgment of the court that you now stand convicted of that offense. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute section 609.04, counts 2 and 3 will remain unadjudicated as they are lesser offenses of count 1. As sentence for count 1, the court commits you to the custody of the Commissioner of Corrections for a period of 270 months. That's 270. That is a 10-year addition to the presumptive sentence of 150 months. This is based on your abuse of a position of trust and authority, and also the particular cruelty shown to George Floyd. You are granted credit for 199 days already served. Pay the mandatory surcharge of $78 to be paid from prison wages. You're prohibited from possessing firearms, ammunition, or explosives for the remainder of your life. Provide a DNA sample as required by law. Register as a predatory offender as required by law. And then you will receive a copy of the order and also the attached memorandum explaining the court's analysis. Anything further from the state?
If this needs to be said, we just ask that it be executed forthwith.
Defendant is remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be transported back to the DOC or whichever custody is currently holding him. Anything from the defense? No, Your Honor. All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
That was deep.
Greg said it best. Said nothing to the family of George Floyd, said nothing about George Floyd, said nothing to acknowledge even his name. Said nothing.
Yeah, the mom should have said something to show sympathy towards the family. I didn't play the whole thing, but as far as I know, I don't remember her saying anything.
I saw it yesterday. Oh my goodness, she's in La La Land.
Well,
is all I can say.
She believes that he's innocent.
I got a question for you.
She said it later in the statement. Later in the statement.
I got a question.
I heard everything she said, and I think that she's delusional.
I got a question for you guys. It's twofold, but I can't imagine his mom, not have seen that video at some point over the past year. Number one, but number two, what do we as a parent think of our child? Do we think our child, even when they do, how many times have we like glossed over or kind of justified or tried to make their situation look good? Listen to what I'm saying, because sure. I'm not saying.
When have you ever done that?
No. I'm just saying you never committed a heinous crime either. You've never
got
been
picked up by the police.
you've never been arrested. You've never been in a situation where
No, yeah, I know.
you needed someone on your side. I mean, I could see her saying that for her son, but on the flip side,
No.
if she had acknowledged the family of George Floyd and still said what she said, I would have
been okay with
because
that. I would have been okay.
Did you hear the whole thing?
I heard the whole thing, but let me finish.
heard the whole thing as
I'm
well.
not saying I'm saying as a parent. I'm listening as a parent. So I'm not defending her, and I'm not defending anything that she said. All I'm saying is that I know me as a parent, how much you love your kid.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And how you may not have thought your son or daughter was possible of doing that type of crime. You didn't think they were possible. You didn't like. I can never see my daughter killing anybody, but Bria might
But
be.
if I had 18 complaints against me to you saying, I don't know, Bria's dangerous, she out here knocking people upside the head.
Yeah, but
After 18 of those, would you think it was possible for me to accidentally kill someone?
but what I'm saying is that she never knew that probably. You didn't know
Did.
that. No, listen to what I'm saying. You heard about that later. You heard about
I'm
that.
not sure if it matters if she knew or not.
No. You heard about
I think it
Chauvin's.
matters.
No, listen to what I'm saying. You heard about his 18 complaints after he killed George Floyd. Because
Yeah.
he never went to court. He never got sentenced for it. He never got indicted. He never got charged for anything. So what I'm saying is from a public's perspective, we never knew he had that. So for his mom, I'm sure she didn't know until after George Floyd was dead that he had this bad record of excessive force.
Okay.
But I'm not defending her at all. I'm pissed off at the fact that she said what she said and didn't recognize the family, didn't even apologize for his actions. As a mom, I can't see me standing in front of a courtroom and knowing one of my kids killed somebody, and I'm not saying I am so sorry to everyone for what my daughter or my son did.
Yeah.
I am so sorry because that is not the kid, or that's not the person that I know.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
acknowledge those things. But I see her actions as a parent. I just think that she is, like Bria said, delusional. She's in denial of what her kid did.
In denial.
She's in denial of what he did. Just like anybody who defends George Floyd. I mean, Derek Chauvin.
Derek Chauvin.
They are in denial of what he actually did and not saying, this is not who I know, but I'm so sad that this actually happened.
That's what she should have done, and that would have been the appropriate thing to do. So,
I mean, there's people that I know.
What should have been said would be like, this is the Derek that I knew. We raised him to be such and such, and and go ahead and tell the good things that you know about him, but also acknowledge and be real and say, look, we are sorry for this loss of life.
Mm-hmm. I was
good point, Gregory.
This comment right here. I just heard a radio show yesterday. I heard this same conversation, but they were talking about minors. We say we know our child. Like, I really think I know my daughter. I really know my son. I really do know them. But there are things that they would do out of your presence that you not know that they're doing.
Yeah, but once they move out and they become the adults, you know, there's things that we don't know about. There's things that
I agree. But the point that I'm saying is, as a parent, from a parent's perspective, even as your child is an adult, you think you would know what they would do, and then when something comes to your realization or something is revealed to you, you're like, wow, I can't imagine they did that. And that's the same thing for a parent a child looking at a parent. Like, wow, I didn't think my mom or dad would do something like that.
Yeah.
And you think you know someone until something is revealed. But then, like I said, there's baggage. You always have to go back to where that baggage started. There was something in Derek Chauvin's life that led to that point, or to any officer who goes does excessive force. Where does that come from?
What I would say,
go ahead.
I'm still fairly new to parenting, so I really can't give a whole lot of. You're right. I can't give a whole lot of my take on that part of it. But what I feel is when she was addressing the court saying that I want the court to know that this is not who my son is. I get that. Like, that's not the son that she knows, right? Mm-hmm. However,
but he still did it.
You can't say that to a court that's just unpacked everything, did investigations, got the real facts of everything, and and presented it to everyone. And they probably at this point knows him better than you do, and professionally. So you can't really say that. And then she touched on people sending her letters from around the world and around the country, saying that they know that he's innocent. And then you have her saying how the media played a part and making him look bad. And it's just that she's picking out all these different points that she can place blame on, other than placing the blame on her son. And at the end of the day, as parents, we still have a responsibility to our children to tell them the truth. At the very least,
you're right.
Even if we can't believe that they did that, we still need to tell them the truth. I love you. I wish you hadn't I wish you took different actions, and this is the consequences, but I love you.
Right. Exactly.
She also said, I felt her pain when she said that, by the time he gets out, me and his father won't be around anymore, probably.
Yeah.
That was another thing that probably hit her differently. But at the same time, you still have to address what he did. And you saw that he did it. You saw he had multiple opportunities to change his course of direction. At some point he had to know that this is where it was going to end.
Yeah.
And, with her saying all of that evidence, and she still decided to take this, this line of talking points to the court. She could have, it just was that's why I said she's delusional.
What bothered me the most was a sense of entitlement in her voice and the way she talked about him and her family, as if, and I couldn't help but thinking, how many African-American young men have been hauled off to prison for 20, 30 years, and they don't see their families. Their parents, their parents, for less than this, their parents died. There's no tearful statement on the news about these families. It goes. Greg said it shows how he was raised. He was raised with a sense of entitlement. That's what bothered me the most. It's like, these are the consequences for kneeling on someone's neck for 9 minutes until they stop breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you will be able to see them. You will be able to see him. You could visit him in prison. Okay. But this sort of crying act as if woe is me.
No one's visiting
that really
George Floyd.
That bothered me.
I look at
George Floyd can't see his family anymore.
Right. Nope. So to look at like the like Bria said, her talking points in that statement, I really wish she would have had some said there should have been accountability on her son's part of
show some remorse,
being responsible. And that was no remorse. She was more concerned about her son. And like I said, I feel that as a parent. But like I said, again, me as a parent, if one of my kids had did it, I think I would have been that parent, would have said, I'm sorry for maybe I would have been looking at myself as a parent. Like, where did I go wrong to allow my child to have that type of influence to do that?
I don't feel like that's what she should. I mean, with her speech, probably
that's me.
No,
that's me as a dad.
But why would you? If I'm like, how old is he? 40 plus years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no,
that's nothing. I feel like that has nothing to do with parenting, in my opinion. He may be entitled, but a lot of that could come from being on the police force for so many years and being able to get away with things over and over again. I don't think that has anything to do with how he was raised. He may definitely have grown up with entitlement or a superiority complex. That's totally possible. But as far as like the habits you develop on the police force, if you work somewhere where, and you have all these complaints against you, he knows he has all these complaints against him, but he always gets away with it.
Yeah.
I think that's more indicative of how the police department that his boss or his police department that he's working for is Minneapolis Police Department. Their practice that reflects badly on them.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying me as a parent,
45 years old.
Yeah, me as a parent, I still, even if I don't care how old you are and you do something, me as a parent reflects back to what happened. Even if, like say, he was influenced by the police force. Even with that being said, I would think as a parent, like, did I not show my child how to resist the enticement or resist the temptation that others may influence you with, or
to abuse power?
I would think like, how did I as a parent not instill that into my child that he would be responsible as an adult to be, you know what I'm saying? That's what I would think, you know, and I know a lot of parents, I know a lot of people will feel that way, but I want to switch it a little bit. What do you guys think about the judge?
I think I won't say fairly. I feel like, you know, if he was not an ex-officer, the time would have definitely been more. But I like that he said that he's not doing it for public opinion. I think through the trial, I thought he was a fair judge, in my opinion.
I like the judge. I think he was fair, impartial. I think I agree with the length of time. I thought what he said was spot on. He tried to be completely objective. He's not taking any political stance. He's not pro or con on anyone's side. He's looking at the facts. He read all the statements, and this is his decision. And I liked him. I like what he said.
I think that the prelude, or the prelude going into that sentencing, how you say he went through these statements of of how he's not trying to, you know, make this a political move or making a statement with his judgment, but I think he tried to do everything he could do or say beforehand so he wouldn't be judged by one side or the other. I know from black media, I've heard them say that he did not get the maximum, like black people get the maximum.
Should he gotten more?
And but with that being said, I'm not looking at if he should have got the max or not. I'm looking at the fact that he got enough time to make a statement, a general statement for the American population that this cannot continue to go on as it's been going on. That this should be a precedent set. Although every case is different, is a case by case thing, but this should be a precedent set for excessive force.
And I think it's a good, strong start. 22 and a half years wasn't the 30 years that was requested by or proposed by the prosecution, but he did get more than the required time, right?
Yeah.
It's like 10 more years or something, right?
He said he added 10 additional years. 22
and a half years. It's not 30 years, but it's 22 and a half years. And one of the commentators during I was watching the news, one of the commentators said that, you know, whether it's 30 years or 22 and a half years, not going to bring George Floyd back. But that time does say something, because that's more than any other ex-police officer has received that has been sentenced in the state of Minneapolis or Minnesota.
So we want to hear from people out there. Do you think it was enough time? Do you think it should have been the maximum? We want to know your opinion.
What's the maximum?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly.
Is it?
I mean, what
years?
is?
Well, if he would have added them other charges, years? Well, what it was, he remember.
He has another. He's still the federal case. He still has to be sentenced by the federal court too, right?
I can't remember. Does he go through federal with this too?
Yeah.
Because I know that, you remember the judge knocked off the 2 lesser sentences, remember?
Yeah.
The 2 lesser charges. So he would have had more time if he had kept those other ones in there.
I think that I do agree that if that was a black man, a black man on this, like if it was not a police officer, just a black man killing another black man, he got arrested for it, he would have definitely got the max. That's what George Floyd's brother was saying.
Yeah.
In his interview yesterday with Ben, he did an interview with Don Lemon and Ben Crump.
Yeah. And
Ben Crump was saying that, you know, this is actually a step in the right direction. Yeah. It would have been nice to see him get more time, but 22 and a half years is enough time, I think.
What do you think
Not enough, but it's a lot of time.
What do you think about this? With the police reform bill has not been passed yet, right? Do you think now those that oppose the police reform in the current state of what the Democrats are trying to do you think that because Chauvin got this sentence that people will say, well, we don't need police reform because the bad cop got put away?
Sure. I mean, they're going to use that.
I think that is in their best.
Sure.
You can hear that happening now?
So. Oh, yeah, I can hear it happening. You don't?
I mean, I think
people are going to point to this and say,
wait, one at a time. I can't hear. What was that? Go ahead, Darren.
I mean, I think, of course, people are going to point to this and say, look, justice was served. We don't need
Yeah.
police reform. Exactly what you said.
Yeah. What about you, Bria? What was that?
I can see that being said, but I think it's in their best interest to not say that, because if they want to keep saying police officers get hauled away to jail for this instead of just passing police reform, putting it in the, not even just police getting hauled out to jail, but people dying because this police reform isn't put into place. And then them saying that this is part of training or whatever, just pass police reform so that these types of things can be avoided altogether. Nobody wants to sit through these traumatic cases over and over again. It's too much.
Right. I agree. I agree with both of your sides, and I put that out there because, I'm like at night, or it's usually at night when I do these things. But I think about the stories that we're going to talk about. I knew this was going to come up in our conversation today, and last night I was laying there thinking, like, man, what will be the argument now that he's in jail? Will people take the stance of we don't need police reform because the system did what it's supposed to do? But the thing about it is that, again, from the very beginning, I said that the system only worked this time because so many people saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It was one of those situations where the majority of people who always side with police saying that this doesn't happen, they couldn't stomach what they saw anymore. It was that bad. And so it shouldn't get to the point that you have to be proven like this in the media to say, I need change. We have to go by the experiences that we've seen over the years, that we've heard about over the years, the documentation that's been presented to say, it's change. It shouldn't come down to us having to witness something that horrific over and over again to where we was almost desensitized to watching it.
So, Greg
Thank
says
you,
that
Gregory.
40 years was the max. So, 22 and a half.
Well,
when you put that into perspective now with 22 and a half versus the 40 years that he could have gotten. Yeah.
Well, getting back to that 40-year thing, it was this article. I'm trying to bring it up. For some reason, my computer was acting like it has a brain of its own and don't want to click the link like I wanted to. But there was a man. There was a Philadelphia guy. Here it is. That was exonerated after 34 years in prison. He was convicted of murder. He was cleared. He has been cleared of murder, released from prison after 34 years by evidence that was suppressed by investigators. Curtis Crossland, 60, was convicted of 1984 murder of a South Philadelphia store owner, Man Heo, and sentenced to life in prison. However, on Thursday, he was released from the State Correctional Institution, Phoenix, in Montgomery County. The move came after District Attorney Larry Krasner, Conviction Integrity Unit, concluded that the investigators withheld evidence pointing to another suspect. They also illegally concealed information about witnesses who said Crossland was the killer. So I'll just leave it right there for that. Now, when you look at the disparity of those two things, the cops who don't get convicted versus people who have been convicted wrongly. Mm-hmm. People were saying that the 40 years is the max that Chauvin should have got. I mean, what Greg just said, 40 years could have gotten was the 40 years. This man has spent 34 years in prison, and he probably had got the max. I'm not sure how long he's supposed to gotten, but think about it.
I guess
he already did 34. He already did 34 years, and he was wrongly convicted. Here's a video.
So what does he get for that? Was he compensated, or was he?
They usually get compensated.
Restitution. But there's no amount of money you can give to someone that's been in jail for that long. You're coming out of jail into a whole new world. What do you even like?
But they get several million sometimes. They get several million.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was a guy in Cleveland I didn't know him, but I met him afterwards. Yeah. He was in prison for like 20-something years. But we did an event. He was a Christian. And there's a friend of mine named Michael. They were all in prison. It was like,
was he wrongly convicted or
wrongly convicted? Yes.
Okay.
It was 20-something years. I gotta look the story up, but I ran sound for an event where 4 of these guys were in prison, and while they were in prison, they created a gospel group, and they would sing. Cool. They would sing in prison, and they were bringing their life to Christ, turning their life over to Christ after hearing this gospel band. Okay. Well, when the last guy that was the other guys weren't all wrongly convicted. They did their time. They served their time. They repented. They gave their life to the Lord in prison. Well, this one particular guy was wrongly convicted. And when he got out, they had this big concert, this big celebration when he got out because they knew he was wrongly convicted. And I was there running sound for this event. You know, he gave a statement about it, but he was a humble guy who didn't want to go into all the details. He was just happy to be free. And so when you see things like that, and then you see cops who get away with it.
Yeah, like who's held accountable for that?
You know, it's kind of hard because I've heard more people wrongly convicted get out than I've heard cops who go to jail.
Yeah.
There's been a recent wave actually over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Will we see more cops get convicted?
Well, we're gonna see with the cop who killed that young man in the car. Remember just a few months ago, I cannot remember his name. Sorry.
I'm gonna share this with
he was driving away.
Yeah.
She's arrested. She was arrested and I think charged. Are we gonna see her get convicted? We might.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? The young man who was in his car driving away and they shot him. She thought she was pulling her taser and she pulled her gun.
Right. That's
so we'll see what happens with that. If she gets away with it, there's gonna be some trouble for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have
I'm gonna show the video right quick of this guy getting out of jail right quick.
Okay.
Just I'm gonna show a little piece of it. I mean, this is sure joy right here. This is just to see a guy who's been put away, seeing his family and everything.
Wow.
Oh my God. 34 years and counting. Yeah. How you? I was 2 years old when this man went away. 2.
Wow. Wow. 60 years old.
I want some. Carlos, come on. Come in here.
Yes. I can't believe it.
Wow.
Let me pinch you and see if you're real.
It feels good. It feels good. It's almost like bittersweet because I left so many good men behind that are actually innocent, that have praying and asking, God to move in their behalf. And I really thank God for the Conviction Integrity Unit, that someone finally, after all these years, heard my cries. These are 2 of my sons. He was only 6 years old when I come to jail. He was only 2 years old. So I'm happy. Brother, lost his sister. He flew out of Florida to be here. It's Kurt Jr.
2 3 doors right there.
Yes. It's all good. God is good. God is good. God is faithful.
That's great. That's great. I hear your emotion.
It's all right. I got you, sir.
Hear your emotion.
Let me cut this off.
Could you imagine your dad, if you were 2 years old, and now you're almost 40.
It's like I see so many people who go through that, who do not deserve to be taken out of society like that. They lost so much life. They lost so much time with their families.
Yeah.
And it's like every year we get 3 or 4 of these, 4 or 5 of these guys you see come out, or women come out of prison who are wrongly convicted. And it's like, look at what was lost because of negligence or just plain bias, that you just needed a conviction.
Yeah.
And that this man probably could have changed the world. You don't know what he could have been like if he had the opportunity to just live his life.
Yep.
We don't know what changes he could have made in this world. We don't know what leadership positions he could have obtained.
Yep.
Whose lives he could have changed. But when you hear him, he changed lives in prison. He's praying for people who was in the same situation as him. And that was just emotional for me. And although I've never been in that situation, but I see it over and over again. And I see so many people get away with it and don't get no time, or there's a justification for it, or there's an excuse to why not. When I look at the guy who raped that girl at Stanford, you know, and she was intoxicated, and they're saying because he's such a
He
good
was a
guy,
swimming star, yeah.
he's a swimming star, or the what you call the guy, the affluenza kid who killed people driving drunk because his parents had money. When I see stuff like that, it just hurts because I see so many of our people get hurt like this, put in jail, or just a long sentence that doesn't need to happen.
Yep.
Yep. It just hurt, man. And then I hear people the whole time Derek Chauvin was going through this trial thing that he shouldn't get the time or he should get probation. It hurts, man. And it's like I'm tired of hearing it. I think that we need to there's no way a person that's an American citizen can sit back and not see what I see. How can you not see it? How can you just let that crap just pass by? Like
You'd be surprised what people are not aware of. You'd be surprised that what people willfully turn away from, the injustices in this country. And I just have to go back to the video, and you could just see you could see the peace that's in his heart and in his soul. I mean, I would be angry. I would be really angry. 34 years, I would be bitter.
He had time to adjust.
He was at peace. I mean, what do you do at 60 years old? Your life was taken away from you.
How many guys
in your 20s?
How many guys in prison like that come to the reality that they've been wrongly convicted and they accept their life?
I admire that guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that I would want vengeance. I would be bitter. And he was appreciative of life.
Right.
And the blessings of life. And so seeing somebody like that who was wrongly convicted and coming out of prison like that, and he's smiling.
Yeah.
And he's hugging his family.
But he probably thought he would never get out. He probably thought he would never get out. So there's an acceptance that you take. Why do a person plea deal when they know they didn't do anything? Why do the person plea deal? Because they feel like this is my life. I have no chance. I can't afford the attorney.
They give them a deal so that they don't get.
I'm talking about the person who didn't do anything.
Right, they get a deal because they don't want a worse sentence.
Yeah, but why do they give the deal? Because they feel they have no way out.
Yep.
Right.
They feel like there's no one going to believe me. There's no one going to defend me. I can't afford that $1 million attorney. They accept the fate that they're going to have to take this time when they did nothing wrong. They plea deal. It hurts.
When I see things like this, when I see all of these innocent people being released from jail after they've served so many decades of their life, given so many years of their life, lost so many years of their life outside of prison, they're innocent, and it's because of a slip up or because of a DNA, of DNA. Yeah. I think the feeling I get, the emotion that I feel is rage. That video, even though there was so much love in that video, I had a lot of rage against the system. And it's because when you look at our jails, those kind of stories are disproportionately Black people, and they're serving time for something they either didn't do, or they're serving time because of like petty crime that like you said, like a white person would never get that kind of jail time for something so small, or even wrongly convicted. We should look at the stats. How many wrongly convicted white people are in jail versus Black people that are in jail? I mean, it's just our jails are packed with Black people. Yeah. And it's enraged. It just makes you angry. It just makes you so mad because we're always hearing about how race relations in this country, or racism is getting better in this country, and it's going away or fizzling out, whatever. And that's the argument you hear all the time. But then you look at our jails, and it's just like, how can you look at this and think that that's happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
We need criminal justice reform on so many different levels in this country.
Yeah.
But yes, thank God for DNA. Thank God for being able to review these cases, to look back on it, and so that even if it is 20, 30 years later, that it is a matter of justice, and justice matters. Justice
Yeah.
matters.
They should find who mishandled the information, who suppressed the information that would have kept him out of jail. Who did that? Who are the officers that coerced a confession out of him? Find them. Hold those people accountable because they took away his life.
Yeah. Well, they said in here that what was it? They hit they concealed the information. Where is it at? They mentioned in there. I forgot. I'm looking for it.
Concealed.
I mean, the prosecutor's file here. It is the discovery of a hidden prosecutor files made me very emotional. It was a mind blowing that all that could be hidden to convict an innocent man. It was painful. It was difficult to even share with my family some of the things I learned that happened to me. This is the guy talking.
Wow.
And so just think about that statement alone. We saw it happen with the 5 guys in New York.
So this would have been in the 90s, so 34 years ago.
Yeah. And that's just sad.
The 80s, excuse me.
Yeah. That's just sad that this stuff happened. They said
Black people in the 80s didn't have a fair shot at any sort of legal process at all in the 80s. So this is not surprising to me.
Yeah, like the son told him when he was
the work
16.
of justice continues. The work of justice continues.
Gregory Battle says that's why sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's always there. It's always there. We will always have to keep struggling.
I really thank you to Bria and Darren for having these conversations because over the last, say, 10 years of me in social media, people have always kind of criticized me for always bringing up race issues. And, I know my pastor told me one time, he was like, your ministry is what's passionate, what you're passionate about. You will give more to a ministry. And so when I'm not saying this conversation brings people to Christ, but my personal conversations outside of our show and outside of social media helps me have ministry for people. We talk about things that are important and allow people to see it it's allow people to see things from a godly lens and not a human lens.
I hope so.
And I thank you too for having these type of conversations because I feel that our show we challenge each other back and forth on comments. And sometimes, we have to play the devil's advocate. I mean, we did that earlier with Chauvin's mom, where I was asking the questions of the sympathy that a mom shows to their child. And I think that brings the balance to our show because any one of us can bring that devil's advocate perspective.
Yeah.
And we need that balance because then that's where the human lens versus the godly lens can say, we have to look at people on common ground. We said that when we first started the show, Darren, that we try to bring common ground.
Yeah.
Every
I hope so.
Every side has a perspective, whether it's politics, whether it's racism, whatever education. If we don't listen to the other side and try to get a perspective from that lens, we're never going to find common ground. Even if we don't agree, we have to see it. Say, okay, like if I see I look at Darren Chauvin, who killed George Floyd. If I don't sit back and look at it have some empathy in a sense of, and I know Bria's going to jump at me. I can see your eyes of a person who has had a sense of entitlement, probably their whole career. You get to a point of saying or thinking that you're never wrong, that you're never going to be accused as being the suspect.
Where's empathy coming in with that?
The empathy is the fact that he grew up in a society that allowed that to happen.
So
in a climate that allows
when I say empathize is not me having sympathy for him.
I know.
Empathize is me sitting back and saying, okay, putting yourself in his shoes of saying, how did he get to that point? He got to that point because he was never challenged.
That's true.
He got to that point because he watched a system for years allow that to happen.
Rubber stamping.
So I have to sit back for me to challenge that perspective. For me to challenge him, I have to go back, and that's where critical race theory come in. How did he get in that position to allow that to happen? You have to look back into our historical background of how that even happened.
It's interesting that you mentioned the critical race theory and how that's an application of the critical race theory that would have been of use.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to teach it. You just sit back and that's part of your conversation. You have to have that perspective.
As much as I loathe to do this, there is a story from LA that happened over a year ago.
Switching, I was going to challenge.
No, that's okay. No, go ahead. You have something.
No, I'm not going to challenge. I'm not going to challenge it. We've been on that for a while. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it was.
We
would have gone down.
One thing I wanted to say is that I hope that my goals, our goals, we have talked about this a lot, is not to be divisive at all. Just we're bringing up things that are happening in the world and trying to honestly talk about them. That's all we're doing. I don't have an agenda with the show. I know you don't. No. I don't have an axe to grind necessarily. I have things that I care about deeply. I have issues, and you do as well. Both of you have issues that you care about, and they're different. Mm-hmm. And we talk about them. Yeah. And it's not some sort of political agenda. It's not some sort of thing that I want to bash people on. So we're not trying to be divisive. We're trying to find common ground and honestly talk about these issues. Yeah. And we're being honest.
And I want to put this out there too. I mean, I would love for this to happen for us in the future, but I want to let people know we do not get paid to do this show. I would love to get paid to do this show, but I want to let people know who accuse me of putting race issues on the table because I bring ratings to our show and I get paid to do that. I've been challenged on that. Really? And yes, and I'm not put the names out there.
Would be nice.
But if you follow my Facebook, there are people who feel I get paid to do this show. And I want to put it out there that I'm not getting paid to do this show. We do this. I get up every Saturday morning with these two people because we love, first of all, each other. And secondly, we putting out there we're just having those conversations that you don't typically hear from a diverse panel. I'll say diverse because we have a young person here in Bria. Then we have two 50-year-old black and a white guy, where a lot of times these conversations become divisive, where they're fighting and arguing. And we're trying to literally, and me and Darren do not see eye to eye on everything all the time. No. But we do talk about it where I just have to step back and I look at Darren's position. And we talked about empathy, Bria. I empathize with Darren because he'll tell me, well, I never saw it that perspective. Or no, this and that what we talk about at home. Yeah. So I sit back and I don't judge Darren. I say, wow, okay, if I was in his shoes, I would probably feel the same way sometimes. Because right. Because we have to look in the other person's shoes. Yeah. So I just want to thank you two for the show and
thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, but let's get to this.
So sorry to
I'll go on and on.
To go into this because it was such a serious topic. But this happened a year ago, and it's troubling to me. If you see the pictures and if you hear the details, and so there's this. His lawyer spoke out about this. This happened in LA a year ago.
Now at 5:30, a man filing a civil rights lawsuit against the LA County Sheriff's Department. He says he was on his way home from work when 7 deputies beat him severely. He says he had to undergo 3 surgeries so far. NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us live from the newsroom right now with details of Christopher Bailey's case. Conan.
That's right. 7 deputies are cited in this complaint. In civil court, in federal court, a civil rights violation, as well as the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Much of this is based on a videotape that we're about to show you. We do not have any indication as to how much was edited out of this tape, and we should warn you, some of the pictures are disturbing. The aftermath of the incident was recorded by a passerby on scene. It was the early morning hours of May 4th, 2020 on Prairie Avenue near the Forum in Inglewood. Sheriff's deputies had pulled over Christopher Bailey, who, according to his attorney, was on his way home from work, where he sifted mail for a U.S. Postal Service contractor. Bailey, again through his legal counsel, says he complied with all commands, and that after being told to get out of his car, deputies began beating him.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Civil rights lawyer Tony Jaramillo.
64 to 86 total body and face hits. He was pummeled in the face approximately 35 to 44 times. Mr. Bailey sustained permanent eye and vision damage. He sustained fractures to his face, including the orbitals of his eyes.
Honestly, like I was screaming out, I wanted to live. I really feared for my life. I thought I was going to die.
Bailey was transported to a hospital and later charged with resisting arrest. His attorneys say that charge was later dropped. While the initial stop was with only 2 deputies, 6 more apparently arrived as backup. Of the 8 on scene, 7 have been charged in the civil rights lawsuit filed in federal district court.
I have multiple surgeries coming up. I have trauma. I really can't put into words how I feel and what I've been going through.
You're here to hold the department accountable and to ask District Attorney Gascon to immediately investigate and file criminal charges to each and every one of the deputies.
We reached out to the Sheriff's Department, who issued a statement saying all use of force incidents which result in injury are unfortunate. Due to this pending litigation and under advice of counsel, we cannot comment any further. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
Unfortunate?
Again, a big guy, black guy is intimidating, right?
I hate to say this. I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say it. I feel like the only way that this is gonna, I'm not gonna say the only way that's gonna stop. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this on air. So let me just stop.
Sure, you can say it.
I'm just saying, like, what is it going to take? Like, we can't fight for our lives while we're getting beat up. We can't even fight back. We just got to sit there and take it. And I just feel like at what point I'm not saying that bystanders should get involved, but it's like, is that when it's going to stop? Is when bystanders physically push police officers off of the people who they're beating to death? Is that what it's going to take? Is it going to take some sort of outside force for police to get their stuff together? And stop, like, what in the world? 7 police officers, 60 to 80 hits?
I don't care what somebody does. I don't care if he
30
murdered
hits
somebody.
in the face,
I don't care if he murdered a whole family of people. This is Gestapo stuff. If you're beating somebody that many times, I don't care. There's no excuse for this. And this should somebody should be convicted on this.
Yeah. I agree.
And if they're not, this is not new for LA. This is not new at all.
Yeah. But look what the charge was: resisting arrest.
Resisting arrest.
This is over a year.
And he did.
Why was he getting arrested? What was he getting arrested for?
That's what I'm saying. He wasn't even.
You can't even you cannot arrest someone without a reason.
Yeah, he didn't do anything, so that's why he dropped the charges. There was nothing.
Because if you can't say why you arrested them, why did you stop him? Why did you have him come out of the car? Why did you arrest him? If you don't have reasons for these things, aren't you abusing your power?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen a white person be escorted gracefully, even after committing even after resisting arrest? I think there was a video I saw this week of somebody causing a disturbance at a school board meeting, and here's this black police officer explaining to him, "Okay, sir, the meeting's over. Okay, you need to go now."
Yeah.
In that tone of voice. I'm sorry, kick his ass out of there.
Right.
Because that's what happens to us. I think I'm just tired of seeing the same type of story play out every day. Like, it's every day, not even just by police officers. I mean, just aside from this, just this week, there was an Amazon driver who was just dropping off packages, who was basically kidnapped by some people, by
I think I saw a headline about that.
White woman and her boyfriend. They like kidnapped him and called the police, and she's telling the police like he's trying to get away. And they're like, because he's a delivery driver, leave him alone. She got arrested. Her and her boyfriend are both charged with hate crimes. And it's just like, I'm tired of seeing this stuff play out every day.
I know it's
very draining.
I know it's context. I know there's different police officers from all over the country. I know they're different cities, and the cases are all different. And we're talking about individuals in the police department. But the consistency is nowhere to be seen. It's just all over the place. It's all over the place.
Yeah. Do y'all know what the new trend is? I mean, we're talking about race. You know, the new trend is white women are now fake crying on TikTok. Did you hear about that?
Do you know the
No.
Black TikTok strike is happening?
No.
I'll let you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, no, we talked to me and Darren talked about that. I posted
Educate
the video.
me.
Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier. The ban on TikTok. I'll bring it up, find something on it right quick. But you know, there's this thing where they're creating these dances to a new song. When a new song comes out, but typically the black community creates a dance, and then what happens is that a white person will copy that dance and it goes viral. So they're not getting credit. So they want TikTok to credit the person who originally put this out there.
Right.
And it can become a financial thing. You know,
it is a financial thing. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, right. And oh, go ahead, Bria. You could. I put it in. You brought it up.
No, you were the. What are the white women crying on TikTok for?
No, but that's not even.
I'm very interested. What's going on?
You want to see that? Okay, see, this is something that
What is it? Why?
I'm about to bring it up now. It was something that you know, because it's been a new thing where you know how, like the Karens, for instance, the Karen trend, where people would do something and they get on the phone, oh, officer, he's doing this, and it's just this fake cry. And so they're on TikTok showing how this comes out and how they're faking these cries. And I'll show you. But you know,
show us an example. Show us an example.
Yeah, what is? I'm very like what.
We need sound. We need sound. Do you got sound?
You don't hear it?
No, I don't hear it. We need sound. Start it over. Hit the button.
Oh, I did hear sound.
You hear it?
Well, yeah, try it again.
Try it again. Try it again.
Yeah, it was. She wasn't making no noise at first. She was just showing her face.
Yeah.
Okay.
She wasn't making any sound at first. Then
go ahead.
Then you hear the sound come up. 1 second.
Let me sorry, my face. I'm just so very confused.
But you think about these are things that people. I mean, when you look at social media like TikTok, that's one of the most real things that people do. Hold on. Let me go back to the beginning.
This is definitely what happens, but yeah.
I'm gonna give you an example of one.
Also, voiceover.
Yeah. But
this is a thing, like.
But I want to give you an example of this. This was in 1988. So 1988, right? I'm at Cleveland State. I'm driving home, right? I'm at Cleveland State. This was I can even tell you it was September, the first quarter of school. Young man trying to find himself in the world. If you remember in Maple Heights, when you're getting off 480 in Northfield, right? 480 in Northfield, there's these multiple lanes. I can't hear you, Darren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're up, Darren? So there's multiple lanes.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. Yeah.
So you can make the right turn, but the center lane can go right or turn or go straight. Then you have
continue on the highway.
Right. So I am at that stop sign. That's red. I was coming off the freeway, and I was in the lane to go straight. There was a lady in the turning lane that goes right only. I'm getting off, and she makes a turn in front of me, and I hit her, T-boned her. Right? So her car swerved up under the bridge. So I turned my car, get right behind her. And at that intersection, there was a Block Brothers painting store or some type of blinds and something store in a corner. So I got out the car and I go to the lady because I'm concerned. She's an elderly lady. I got out the car. I said, "Lady, are you all right?" She said, I'm hurt. And I'm like, okay. So I ran to Block Brothers, called 911 to get the police to come. The police comes over, and she didn't have tears. She said, I'm hurt. The police comes over. I'm standing outside the car. She would never get the car. She was scared to even look at me. The police comes over. She starts crying in front of the cops. They put me in the back of the police car, handcuffed me, put me in the back of the police car. I'm sitting in the police car like, dude, she ran in front of me. So the cop listened to the story, saw what had happened, took me out.
They detained you, basically.
Yeah, she stayed in her car, never got out of her car, and not once. I had to be put in the police car. Bedford Heights, I'm putting you out there on blast. Bedford Heights police car, because that side of the street is Bedford Heights. The other side is Maple Heights or Northfield. So the police put me in the back seat of the car, and I'm like, what the heck? Like I said, I'm 18 years old, college student.
You pulled out in front of you, so it's her fault.
It was her fault. So the police, after, there's no way you can deny it. You can see everything. So the police finally takes me out of the car, gives her a ticket. But she put on a whole charade in front of the police. I mean, she literally had tears in her eyes.
I believe it.
And so,
I
ended up, I ended up having to pay, she paid for all my damages and everything. But that was my first experience of seeing what we are seeing in 2021, these tears when a black person and a white person interact in something, and these tears come out. Mm-hmm. That was in 1988. And now they're doing TikTok videos in 2021 over what I just experienced. I mean, what I experienced some years ago. And
so a faked victimhood, basically.
Yeah, basically. And I'll never forget it. I can still remember this lady's face. I could tell you what car she was driving. It was just so unreal to me. I literally, I cannot believe. I'm like, this lady.
What did your parents say?
They were, they understood. They were like, yeah, that's what they do, But the whole point was they were glad that I didn't get arrested or anything. The police did the right thing. But I could not understand, for a traffic accident, why was I put in the police car? I was never told.
The white lady was crying, and you're a black man on the scene.
No, they said come on, they put me in handcuffs and said you sit in the seat. They had to check me out. They didn't know if I was drunk, high. I don't know what they
did. They pat you down or search you or search your car or something?
They just put me in the handcuffs and said have a seat in the car. They put me in the back.
They put you in handcuffs though?
Yeah, set me in the back of the car. And I was like, I'm trying to feel like, what did I do? She hit me. What did I do? What did I do? And they were outside, so I'm sitting there. So they got her story. They got her story first, which she said I hit her, and then they came and got my story. When they got my story,
were there any witnesses then? Like somebody who saw it?
I can't recall. Okay. But they just looked at where our cars were positioned, what lanes we were in, and she was in a turning lane to turn right, and she actually turned left to go toward Randy Wall. I was going straight.
At the end of the story, was she still crying when she got the ticket?
I never saw her. I just know they gave her a ticket. The police let me out the car. They didn't want me interacting with her at all. Because I was standing there. Next to her car.
It's still wrong of them to handcuff you, put you in the back of the police car. They could have said, sir, just please stand over there.
See, I don't know.
We'll talk to you, sir.
I don't know if they assumed I was going to be violent. But I was standing outside her car because I was literally concerned that she was injured. That's why I'm the one who called 911 because I was concerned that she was injured. Because just imagine, I'm coming off of a ramp at like 40 miles an hour, slowing down. She's at the stoplight. When the light turns green, she just like this. She just turns in front of me, and I hit her. And I was truly concerned that she was injured.
I wonder what her story was when she went home that night.
So I went back to her car. I stood by her car just to stand there to make sure that she's okay. She rolled her window up. It was like she was terrified. Hands on the steering. She's like, and I'm, it was something that was, it just caught me off guard to experience that at that young age.
Experience.
I've never seen anybody just turn on tears like that when the police came. The police come, she just turned on tears, and he says, "Sir, come here, handcuff me. You want to have a seat in my car? Put me in the back seat."
Well, they have a term for that nowadays.
What's that?
Karens.
There's a movie coming out called Karen.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
It could just be like a compilation video.
Yeah, have you ever seen that show Orange is the New Black?
Yes.
The one racist white woman in that show. What's her name? Something, she's like the Christian lady, but she's also the racist one in the prison. Do you know what I'm talking about? The crazy.
I've never seen this.
Brown hair.
I know
she's playing Karen in this upcoming film.
Okay.
She's playing the Karen. So her name is actually Karen in the film, and she is a neighbor. And this black family moves into this nice neighborhood, and she basically just terrorizes them.
Yeah.
So that's coming out. I don't know if I want to see it. I don't know if this was a good movie to make.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be a good movie to make, or is this just gonna further, cause a divide? Because people are really offended over this term Karen.
Is it something that when we see these things come out, like especially through social media, because people are filming so much, is it becoming like this is what's really real in America? Even if you deny it,
we know it's real.
What I'm saying, you could look at it over and over. I mean, people could deny it, but is it for those who are like being really aware now of what's really happening out here? Is it that? I mean, because like there's people right here in my community, they'll use the word Karen casually and joking about it, and then someone will get offended like everyone's not a Karen, or stop using that term.
And I think the people who are offended by Karen, I can't stand that.
If the shoe,
when people say Karen is racist,
wear it. If the shoe fits, wear it.
It's not even just that. It's more so like just take out that logic. Let's go in a different direction. Karen is not a racist term.
Right.
It is literally what's happening. Like, we're not making this up. We're not making a stereotype. We're not going to call you a Karen if you're not a Karen. Well, Karen doesn't have a specific, you don't Karen. I mean, there is like the Karen haircut or, stuff like that, but you're not going to get called a Karen unless you're doing something that a Karen would do. Like, are you calling the police on Black people who are minding their business feeding birds in the park? Are you calling the police on Black people who are just walking down the street?
In
my mind,
Are you calling the police on a Black delivery driver? Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this, I will go this far and say that a Black person can be a Karen. Okay. I will honestly say this and be completely okay, not okay in saying this. I'm actually ashamed. But I have been a Karen, okay? Not calling the police on Black people, but like I was sitting this is just recently, I was sitting in my car and it was raining outside. I was waiting for the rain to stop. And there was a guy walking down the street in the rain, the thunderstorm. And he didn't look suspicious, but it was like, he's just walking like this down the street in the thunderstorm in the rain, minding his business. Okay. And I'm in my car and he's walking past me. And then I'm getting ready to just get out and run through the rain. And then I look over and he's walking past my window again. And it scared the mess out of me. Okay. Because I thought he was going down the street. And then I turned around and he's like at my window again. And it scared me. But he's not even worried about me. He's minding his business. But in my mind, I was being a Karen.
Okay. So I mean, a Karen is more
racist.
about a state of mind or an attitude, I think.
It really is. A Karen is, are you sitting up there thinking that this person minding their business just because they're a Black person and walking down the street, maybe in a condition that you wouldn't be walking down the street? You wouldn't be walking down the street in the rain. I know I wouldn't. But he's minding his business. So a Karen is somebody you're assuming he's a threat for no reason. He's minding his business, but you're assuming he's a threat because he's walking down the street. And so, it's just like, okay, Joe Eldridge, the name game. What is it? Karen versus Uncle Tom? No, not the same.
No. What he's saying is associated with race.
Oh, okay.
Uncle Tom is always generally the Black man who you would say will side with the white perspective.
It's driving for the white folk.
Huh?
Yes, he's driving. Uncle Tom is driving for the white man.
But it's always it's always a Black person, a Black man.
Exactly. But Karen's not always a white person.
No, but that's but I understand they're not the same, but what he's saying is that it's associated with race.
Oh, okay.
When you think
it's associated with a white woman who's calling the police on Black people.
Right. That's
how
would
people out there define a Karen? How do you define a Karen?
Yeah, how do you define a Karen?
Well, what about this perspective? I'm sure Bria can relate. I'm not sure if Darren can understand or not. Mm-hmm. The Black person, who is so-called made it in society, who looks down on the Black person who's still trying to make it up.
Cool.
That person. Yeah. That perspective. He looks at you with the down nose, like he's looking down at you.
Are we calling him Uncle Tom?
No. It's just that there's that Black person and the black people know who we're talking about when you see that black person who looks down at somebody.
Oh, like everyone has one in their family.
Yeah, well, not really in the family. It could be a neighbor, your street, your neighborhood, but you knew someone or somebody you work with that looked down because they made it to a certain status in life. And they're looking down at other black people. Or you could just be in their neighborhood and you could be in their neighborhood, they look at you like, why you over here? Or they look at you like the thug criminal. You know, so it happens in all parts of life. Like,
I will say that.
Like,
you can't
you could have a white person who's, a middle class person and call another white person trailer trash. And who is trailer trash? You don't have to put a race to it, but people will think of a white person. So
this
we
is
all
how
have it in our. We all have this in our.
Okay, Gregory Battle says a Karen. So I'm assuming this to a Karen, a white person who sees a black person and thinks the black person should not be there. Yeah,
or a Ken. Because we've seen males do the same thing.
Yeah,
they come up and say, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?"
Or at the.
Like at a swimming pool or the delivery driver. I saw. Just this morning, a video that somebody was harassing a black delivery driver in his neighborhood.
Yeah. So
and what's crazy is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, like, what's crazy is, like, I will say that the term Karen it does kind of evoke like an anxiety in you, like whenever you go out into like public. Like, I'm not gonna lie, whenever I go out, I live in Belton, Missouri. Whenever I go out to the store, to anywhere, my head is on a swivel, y'all, because I am always like looking over my shoulder.
Really?
Because after
that makes me sad. I mean, it shouldn't be like that in America.
Well, I'll give you an example.
I totally understand you, but in my heart, I feel for you because that shouldn't happen in America.
But it's not. Yeah, no, thank you for that. But I feel like, the term Karen is probably what I haven't always been like that. But you do feel like, oh my gosh, is there a Karen? And everywhere that I'm going to go, like, for example, there was just that incident in Marshall's, right, where we saw that lady. To be a Karen, she must have a phone. There was this. Do you remember that video last week? There was a lady in Marshall's, and she was like talking horribly to this black supervisor at Marshall's. You guys remember that video? It was in St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, well, there was a white woman. She was, racial slurs, all of it, cursing, and she got kicked out of Marshall's. That was in Missouri. So I'm in Belton, Missouri. I go to Marshall's all the time. So I go into Marshall's, and this is my mind. And they said Karen and Marshall's. Like, that was like one of the titles of one of the videos that showed this event. So I'm going into Marshall's. And I kid you not. Marshall's, when you first walk in at this location, there is a candle. There's a rack with candles on it, which is right outside the checkout line. I go in and I make candles. So I'm always looking at candles. So I walk over and I'm looking at these candles, but there's this lady standing by the candle. She's an older white lady standing by the candle rack. And I walk past her. And at this time, let me put this in perspective. I have on workout clothes and an afro. My hair wasn't like this. It was an afro. Okay. And no makeup on. My mask is on. So I'm looking kind of rough. And when I walk past her, she turns around like this. She does exactly like this, right? And so I'm very unapproachable in public when I go out. I don't know if it's because I've had kids and because I'm just looking for some peace all the time, but I'm very unapproachable. So when she did that, I said, and looked at her, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Because I think in her mind, she was genuinely looking at me. But in my mind, I thought she was having a problem. So I was having a problem. And I think in her mind, she apologized to me because she might have, I think she understood what her doing like this meant to me.
Yeah.
But she apologized. She said, "I'm sorry." She said, "I'm sorry." And I was just like, that was a moment. Like, that was a moment where I was for sure she was about to say something to me. And I was very ready.
Wow. Okay.
So
do you think sometimes, I mean, I've heard this this counter to that, or like when you feel like you're being profiled in a store or being followed, and when I mentioned this, somebody said, "Well, how do you know that person was actually following you? Maybe they were just doing their job." And so, how you can tell? See, I'm that guy.
What job are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about like you could be a store employee, and you're following a black.
So they're
person
following somebody around the store?
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you what I'm saying is the example is this: that people who counter that will say, "Well, how do you know they weren't just doing their job?" I counter it by saying, when you approach them, they change their tune. Me and my wife, this was like 2 years ago here in Texas, and we were at a Target. We were buying the grandkids some clothes at Target.
Okay.
And we were, my wife is a shopper. So she will go all over the department and looking, holding, touching, feeling clothes, sizing it up. And so she'll do that all around the department, and she'll end up where she started at to get what she wants, because she got to see everything before she decides what she wants. I'm the guy that just grabs stuff, put it in the bag, and get in the cart and keep on going. So she did that, and this lady is following us. She will go to a rack right beside us, and she'll fold some clothes. So we'll go over here. She'll go across from us, and she'll fold some clothes. And then she'll straighten it. She's like every section we're in. So I'm like, excuse me, do you need something? And she was like, oh, no, I'm just here, just straightening up there. I said, oh, I thought you were following us. And then she scurries on off, and you never see her again. So, and me and my wife.
She got called out. She got called out.
See, that's me. I'm that guy.
This is Target?
This was Target. This was like 2 years ago.
I have been followed around Target before too, though.
Yeah, so that's why they call it Target. They be aiming at you, So it's like,
wow.
No, but this was 2 years ago.
Target as my example.
But I will check a person like that, because I'll ask them.
So you'll call them out on it.
I'm like, is everything okay? Oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I thought maybe you were following me, or you thought that something was wrong, or I've had that in Walmart, because at night. I used to shop at night a lot because there's less traffic, so I would do things at night, and it seemed like if you see this guy, the unmarked security guard, in plain clothes, the security shopper who's walking around with a grocery cart, I can identify these people. It's just when you check them, they all of a sudden they're nowhere to be seen again. They're not around you anymore.
Yep, they're not there.
And so yesterday, I was at Walmart yesterday, and I was buying this garbage can. I'm looking for a can that had the top that works, right?
Okay.
And so I'm checking them to make sure they work properly. So I'm stepping on the pedal. If they don't lift up, I'm seeing if something is broke. So I had like 5 garbage cans in the middle of the aisle that I'm checking because they're not working right. So I finally put one in my cart. So I put all my stuff in there, and I saw 3 Walmart employees come to the aisle, like at different times, pass through, and they looked down the aisle. So I don't know if they thought I was stuffing things or hiding things in the garbage can or whatnot. I don't know. So I finally get to the checkout. I go to the self-checkout, and I scan all my stuff, put my items in a bag, and the garbage can is sitting straight up. You know that the Walmart checker guy, so they all got headphones on, so they're all listening. So this guy, I greeted this guy. He greeted me when I came in. I'm in the store like maybe 10 minutes, and I'm leaving out, and he looks at me, and I had my receipt up. I just said, and just kept on walking past. He never asked to see my receipt. It just kept walking straight. But I'm sure that they figured out he's just checking the garbage cans out. But 3
we
people
had this guy in
aisle.
aisle 7 messing with garbage cans.
Right.
Go check it out.
This was just yesterday. It's funny. But what I do now, I look back, I say this could be anybody. You don't have to be a black guy that looks suspicious. You could be a white guy, a Hispanic guy. You could be anybody that looks suspicious. Yeah. But I think black
we
people
all have our. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think black people put a guard up because of the stereotype or that feeling for so many years that we automatically get on the defense. Like, what the heck are you following me for? And it becomes like we become angry. And I think that the person in the store could be really just doing their job, but we see this so often that we just assume every person that's
close to us. Is it part of their job, though? I mean,
no. There could be
followed around Target.
No. What I'm saying is they could be doing their job. I mean, not looking at us. They could actually be doing their job, whatever they're doing. We can assume that they're profiling us because it happens so often. So I think that's where the misconception comes in, misperception.
Okay.
They can literally be doing their job, and a black person will feel offended because, like, dang, why you keep following me, or why are you so close to me? And I think that it happens so much that we put our guard up, and that white person can be like, why are you so angry? And you know what I'm saying? And that perception is so
I can see
that's
that.
why these conversations should be had, because it's unfair for that white store employee to be on guard to not make a black person feel offended. They should be able to just do their job. But because this has gone on for so long, again, critical race theory, if we could understand why black people feel the way they feel in stores, it goes through a history of why this stuff happened. And so it's not the angry black person in the store. It's not the angry black person. It's a buildup of being profiled so many times that day was not a good day for us to be profiled. Yesterday, I'm in a rush because I had guests coming from out of town, and I'm trying to get a few things. I didn't want to be stopped in the store because I'm trying to find a garbage can that properly works in Walmart.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
I've been followed around Target, and I asked the person because I'm getting followed anyway, and the product that I want is now here. Can you go check in the back to see if it's there? It actually came in handy for myself. So,
like Darren, have that ever happened? Have that ever happened to you, Darren?
I don't think so.
No, because he was surprised.
No. I'm really. Have you ever?
I don't think it has. Yeah. No, I've never been followed around the store. If I had, I would have called it harassment. I mean,
Have you ever?
I don't think I've ever been followed around
normal.
the store.
No.
This is another question. This is something.
By an employee.
Have you ever went into the store with the? Have you ever? Well, since you just said that answer, I know this is going to be a no also for you. Going into the store, apprehensive, thinking that you might get stopped. Me and my wife were in Arizona, and we always when we in
Gregory Battle said that was not a CRT. I don't think that was a CRT either. But the point was
that wasn't a CRT.
I just put that put that up there because you said the magic words.
Oh yeah,
you said the magic words, three magic words.
But the application for that Walmart employee, what I was saying, critical race theory was the white person who thinks the black person is angry because they're calling them out for profiling. That white person would have learned something if they understood critical race theory to understand why. Right? Why is that black person on guard and accusing me of profiling them? Because there's been a history of that. That's
what were you going to ask me that I was going to say no about?
Oh yeah, being apprehensive of going into a store thinking you may be profiled. So me and my wife, we go to outlet stores every time we go out of town to a new city. We go to the outlet store, and we were in Champs looking for some tennis. I've been looking for some red, white, and blue tennis shoes, Nikes, for like the past year or so. But I want leather and not mesh. And these weren't even white people. These were black people. I had 5 people. Can I help you, sir? Can I help you, sir? And I'm like, what the heck? I'm just looking at some freaking shoes. You know?
Like, I do not need help looking at shoes. Thank you.
Right. But the profile or the stereotype that people may be wanting to steal. And so we're looking at these shoes. So finally, this young lady came over. I mean, this young lady was walking. She didn't even ask us a question. She was just close to us. And I went to ask her for help because she did not harass me previously.
Right. Okay.
So I went and gave her my business. And I was going to buy something just because she respected me. And they didn't have my size. So I couldn't buy anything.
Well, I think maybe when I was young, maybe as an 18, 20-year-old, if I was with a bunch of another white 18 or 20-year-olds, maybe we were followed around. Maybe maybe people would have done hey, what are these kids doing here in the store? Are they going to try and buy some alcohol? Who knows? Maybe when I was younger, I might have been followed around a store. But no, I don't necessarily expect that to happen. I hope not. I do get a little apprehensive when I come into a store and like 4-6 people, everyone asks me if I need help. It's like, no, I'm just looking. I just want to look.
It gives me anxiety.
I just want to look. Okay.
To Gregory's point, though, I think he's more. If he also said that it's more of a critical race assessment. I think when we're talking about critical race theory, I think he was looking more for an explanation of systems, since that's what critical race theory is more of a theory on racism embedded in the systems of our country. Yeah. But I've actually last week I after doing more research, I realized that I actually didn't know as much about critical race theory as I thought I did. In
No, I
fact,
didn't either.
my knowledge was more on my understanding of critical race theory was more in line with Republicans talking what they oppose. Okay, so I feel like the Republicans that are blindly following this ban critical race theory train that they're on, they don't actually understand what it is.
No, they don't.
And so they want to ban something that's, one, not even being taught in schools. They want to ban it from being taught in schools. It's not even taught in schools. I will say this. I don't think that critical race theory should be taught in schools before high school age. I don't, because there's no way that a child in middle school or in it's not, and they can't possibly process that in their mind.
See, I don't think it should be.
I think that parents. Well, the thing is that these parents that want to ban it are hearing their teachers talk to their students about race and about systems in America that do traditionally, historically go against the interests or keep Black people out of spaces that would allow them. Yeah, but they're taking that and saying that it's critical race theory. And it's not.
We have a few videos. There's been more stuff this week about critical race theory that I want to get to. There's 2 videos I want to show. One of them is a chaos at a Virginia school board meeting. I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen people get this adamant in a school board meeting. And people are losing their minds over this. People are losing their minds.
I think it's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead and play. We'll talk afterwards. Go ahead.
What had been planned as a typical school board meeting in Virginia's wealthy Loudoun County this week devolved into pandemonium. Shame on you! Shame on you! With hundreds of parents flooding an auditorium to accuse the school system of teaching their kids that racism in America is structural and systemic, something the school board denies is part of the curriculum. Things got so heated that the board members eventually walked out, leaving the police to deal with the unruly crowd. 2 people left in handcuffs.
This is an unlawful arrest. I have a First Amendment right.
Loudoun County School Board has been roiled for months by accusations that it has embraced critical race theory, a school of thought that maintains that racism is ingrained in U.S. law and institutions, and that legacies of slavery and segregation have created an uneven playing field for Black Americans. The Loudoun school system says it is simply training teachers, the majority of whom are white, to be culturally responsive to serve the county's increasingly diverse student population. The tensions in Loudoun echo a larger battle playing out across the country as Americans tackle racial and social injustice in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd last year. The idea that CRT, as it's known, is infiltrating public schools has become a rallying cry for conservatives who, like many in Loudoun, say it is being used to indoctrinate children that America is a racist country.
Critical race theory is anti-white, and it's not American.
Others, however, see it simply as fact.
Would you not teach what happened during World War I or World War II or the American Revolution? No, you wouldn't. We need critical race theory because we need real history.
Proponents of CRT argue there's no evidence it's being taught in most, if any, of America's public schools. Instead, they say, it is being used by conservatives as a catch-all term and a way to push back on schools' efforts to support racial equity, diversity, and inclusion. Several Republican-led states, including Florida, Texas, and Georgia, have enacted new rules to limit teaching about the role of racism in the U.S. But several teachers and education experts worry that rules banning CRT or limiting discussions on racism could have a chilling effect on efforts to teach Black history, including the legacy of slavery and race relations in the U.S.
Okay, so a couple of things here. You noticed the Black police officer at the beginning and the white person resisting arrest. Yeah. That was what I was talking about earlier, where he was just saying, "Sir, the meeting's over." Okay, and he's saying, "No, it's not over," because he has other things to say.
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, he wasn't being forced to the ground. He wasn't being beaten up. At any rate, so then there's people waving the flag that's upside down.
Right. Right.
But even this is what I'm saying. These parents, they don't. I can guarantee you, and I say guarantee with a strong confidence. None of them have ever read a critical race theory book or article or material. Nothing. Yeah. All they're doing is going off of what Republicans are saying about critical race theory, which then goes into they don't really know what critical race theory is. And I hate to say this, but even the woman that was talking about, would you not teach World War I? That's still not critical race theory.
That's not critical.
You know what I'm saying?
History.
It's like people are really crossing history of this country with critical race theory, and that's not what it is. And so when you have of these parents just don't want history taught to their kids. They want all the good stuff taught. They don't want any of the, and like I said, again, not critical race theory. They don't want their just kids to know about slavery, about this is what goes back to like Jim Crow, about how in this country, yes, Black people do have to work harder to get to where they want to be because of obstacles that have been put in place and historically that are still in place today. They just haven't gotten rid of these policies that bar Black people from getting into having opportunities that white people may have. That's the truth. That's not critical race theory, but it's the truth. And these parents are upset about it, but it's not critical race theory. It's not being taught in school. There's no curriculum.
Well, the thing about it is that theory is just to let you know the study
it's
of
taught in law school.
No, but I'm saying the thing that people confuse
is a methodology.
It's a methodology of understanding how you got to where you're at.
Yes.
It's not. And the thing that's why I say I don't think critical race theory should be taught in school. I think critical race theory is an application that you apply when discussing these conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what I do when we talk, me and Darren will talk, and we'll talk about something currently, and I'll go back in history and say, this is what happened here. And blah, blah, you watch the stepping stones to the current time.
Yes.
And I think people, what people think when they say is anti-American or anti-white, no, it's not. If you are a white person today and you are offended, two things can be the reason. Number one, you don't know what you're talking about. And number two, you are currently contributing to racism. One of the two things.
All of those parents, all of those triggered.
So you're either misinformed, which most people are misinformed, or you're someone who contributes. Like Governor DeSantis down in Florida, he's contributing to racism.
He probably doesn't even know what it is either.
I'm not talking about the theory. I'm talking about just contributing by his actions. The things that he does, the policies he's putting in place is purposely putting barriers in place. You're saying you don't want to be divisive, but yet you're creating laws and things to be divisive. And for you to ban for like the Governor Abbott here in Texas, who says you cannot have controversial conversations. How do you even come to common ground without having a controversial conversation?
Yeah. You know what though? There are Black parents.
I don't understand that.
Play the video for the military.
Yeah, I want to see this one. This is very good because we hear from the general. I think this is very good.
I want to the conversation I want to have about this after watching this is at two different perspectives.
Okay.
And from who the perspectives are from. Go ahead and play it.
We do not teach critical race theory. We don't embrace critical race theory, and I think that's a spurious conversation. And so we are focused on extremist behaviors.
On the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military.
That could not be better said.
Yeah.
That could not be. I don't even. I mean, that was on point. As Greg said.
Mr. Pedophile in the crowd over there shouldn't be shaking his head. He shouldn't even be in there. He needs to be in jail somewhere.
Right. So you think about this. Now, me and Darren discussed this before the show, and I don't know what was in Secretary Austin's mindset when he said that, he was making it sound like it's a divisive thing, that we don't embrace this. As a black man in the military, who's in a political seat of power, I feel, not knowing, this is just my opinion, so I got to put that out there in first, that he pushed back on that because he might have been accused of supporting something to be divisive, and he's a position of power. As a black man, you can't say so much. You can only say certain things, walk on eggshells, to cause chaos. The Secretary Milley, the Joint Chief of Staff, as a white man, he can say what he truly felt without even if he got pushed back, he can still move on in life without being harassed.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Secretary Austin might not have been able to go home that night. He might not be able to go home without being.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but I like what he said. It's like, I've read Karl Marx. It doesn't make me a communist.
Right.
You don't have to agree with it. You just have to know about it and understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right. And that's what I was saying about understanding how to apply that assessment when you're having a conversation. Because everything, I was listening to a woman speak this week. She said that a lot of time when you bring these conversations up, a white person takes it personal. Like if you say there are many Republicans that are Trump supporters, that are loyal Trump supporters, are racist. They're not saying you personally are racist. They just use it as a broad statement. And the critical race theory part would be, you're going through the things that Trump has done to push back or to contribute to the divisiveness of race in our country. The things that he's applied. Charlottesville was number one, in my opinion, that surely showed that. But when you apply history, like I said, you don't have to go far back into ancient history. You could do stuff right in the last few years to apply this theory into why certain things are happening right now today. And it's not about the current.
Sorry, my kids are crying.
There's nothing that a 40-year-old and younger person has done to contribute to what happened during Jim Crow. But there are a lot of 70-year-olds right now in our country that did contribute to it. Just like in Tulsa. There are some older people in Tulsa that was right there when that Tulsa massacre happened. There's not in 70-year-olds, but like 80 and 90-year-olds that were present.
100 years ago.
Yeah, but there's people that was in that age. There's white people in that same age group as the black survivors. There's some white survivors that contribute to that, or were young enough to remember that. Yeah. So anyway,
again, what are we scared of? What are we scared of?
Yeah.
Why can't we teach the truth?
I think it's a matter of just not knowing what it is what I think that it is. I guess like even some black conservatives, I had watched this interview when I was doing my research because I realized that I was like wildly wrong on what I thought, not on what I thought it was. I think I just went to Google University and just thought I understood, and I didn't really do a deep dive like I should have. So over the past week, I did do a deep dive. So, but I saw this interview of this conservative black mom, and she was actually doing an interview with Roland Martin, and Roland Martin tore her to shreds because she didn't know what it was. I mean, she read some of it, but she didn't have that's what I'm saying. It's a theory and it's complex. So you need to understand truly what it is. Don't just take it on surface and say, this is teaching black kids that they're never going to be able to they're never going to be able to break the glass ceiling because of systems. This is what she said it was. That racism is in the fabric of our country, and that Black people are never going to be able to reach their goals because of obstacles put in place by white. This is what she said that she got from critical race theory. And Roland Martin's like, that's not what it is. Mm-hmm. And she basically went to the school board with all these other parents, and she was upset. It started because they had an assembly where they were separating. It had a separate assembly for white kids and a separate assembly for Black kids.
Really?
And the reason why was because Black kids were complaining about things that their white counterparts were saying and doing to them in school. And so they wanted a separate meeting, because if you have a meeting, and I did not agree with this at first. Yeah, but if you
it creates a safe place, though.
The mom was like, why would you do that? There's no reason. If those kids, if there are kids saying that there are racist problem or racial issues, then those specific kids need to go to the principal and talk and have that issue done separately instead of separating the whole school. And I'm just like, lady, why would you put a spotlight? Race is such a critical, accusing someone of being racist is such a sensitive thing. Like you can't just accuse someone of being a racist and it not be a big deal. Why would you want to put a spotlight on these students experiencing discrimination? Why not address the entire, school, whether separately or together, address it so that we can find out who else is feeling this way.
Right. I agree.
No, don't specifically say this person said your kids are racist. Why don't we get all of the Black students together so that they can come to us and tell us what the problem is, what they've experienced, and then we go to the white students and have a separate, I don't know if I agree with the segregating of the students either, but it seems like that would be the way to go about it, because if you have Black and white students in the same room and you have Black kids saying what's happening to them in school, like I don't know, someone said my hair was nappy, or you know what I'm saying, something like that, or they're having auctions for Black people on there through text. How do you address that together without there being clashing? Like, how do you do that?
Well,
there has to be a diversity specialist they brought in for this reason. And
I don't know the context and the specific information about this case, but I guess it could be advantageous to separate them. So I don't know, maybe, but eventually you're going to want to sit down together.
Yeah,
I would think. But
go ahead. But how would you? I was wondering how. But I guess Roland Martin was saying, he asked her, like, would you oppose of girls and boys being separated? And she said no. And he's like, well, why? Because girls have things that boys don't have, or girls go through things that boys don't go through. And he said, okay, but what if there was a sexual harassment thing and they separated? Would you have a problem with them then separating boys and girls? And she's like, no. He's like, well, that's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. And she could not understand how she contradicted herself. And the thing was, though, she went to the board and told, and there was also an incident with her daughter recording her teacher talking about, she says, critical race theory. But Roland Martin was like, well, what did she say? Like, what indicated that this was critical race theory? She couldn't answer that question. But she went to the board and it's in Florida, and wanted to ban critical race theory across the whole state of Florida. And Roland Martin is just like, yeah, she was a part of that. She spoke and everything. And he's just like, I don't understand it, because you guys are putting a ban on something that doesn't exist in school. You have no curriculum. She said, but it's being taught. He's like, okay, how many teachers are teaching it? 5%, 10%? How many? And she can't answer it. And it's just like, this is crazy, you guys. You guys are creating an outrage. You guys are creating an entire a whole thing across the entire country over something that's narrative. Can you imagine how this looks to other countries?
We look ridiculous.
Can you imagine? These Americans are arguing over something that's not even happening. They're creating laws for something that's not even happening, and it's because you're that threatened by your kids learning about
the first time. It's the fear. It's the fear of truth. And the thing about it is that there's a guilt that's going on that shouldn't even be there. There are white people that feel guilty about something, or feel that they would be viewed. So that's why they're saying it's an anti-white assessment, and it's not.
I have that sticks with me. What that guy said, it's anti-white,
and it's not.
And it's anti-American. He put those two things together. And
white and
that kind of
American.
sticks
Yeah.
with me. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Being anti anything should be anti-American. Being anti any race is anti-American.
And see,
But
that's
it's
the
not
missing.
anti-white. It's literally just teaching.
Well, why do people feel that way?
history.
Why do they feel that way? That's where you get to the root cause. If I see a young person, like there was a young lady holding that sign. She could be no more than, she got to be under 30. That was holding the sign.
I saw that too. I thought she was a kid.
Now, what would make her? She had nothing to do with what went on in the 60s and prior, 70s, even the 80s. So why does she feel this way? It should be like, well, I'm just saying, but why does she feel this way? Why is there's this attack? Like you feel like you're being attacked when it's about, well,
people feel like being attacked.
Well, the question is,
false victimhood.
If you feel that way, why do you feel that way? You have to go back to understand why you feel that way. You got to feel it. Where is it coming from? See, no one wants to go back in their own history to find out why they're feeling that way.
The reason why she's feeling that way, just like the reason why all of those parents are feeling that way, I feel is because you have all these Republican leaders who you look to because you trust, you elected these people into office. They're telling you that it's bad. They're telling you that it's racist, and they're telling you that it's divisive. You're not even like you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you've never read it, if you don't have an understanding, you cannot. I'm not saying that all these people are racist and all these people are, don't want their kids to know history of America. I'm saying that they've never read it, and they're taking the word of people they voted into office, telling them that it's dangerous.
Mindset. It's a conditioned mindset. They're being told what to think, and
if they just opened a book,
they believe that.
If they just read some of the authors of critical race theory, then they would say, "Oh, okay,
yeah."
But I think some people feel this for real. They feel that if you are insulting their great grandparents who owned slaves, and you're going to say, well, that was wrong, and I say, if you have an ancestor that was a Confederate soldier, literally they were traitors, okay?
Yeah.
And so I would think we could all agree on that. But there's some people who take that as a personal insult. They say, well, I have people in my family that were veterans of the Confederacy. It's like, well, so? To me, I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
To some people, that's a personal insult to say that, well, they were at fault, they were wrong. To somehow that I'm criticizing them in 2021.
Yeah. Well, that just happened this week. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, only in America can you find people trying to justify flying a traitor's flag. Yeah. And that I learned recently that Confederate flag we see flown today is not the original Confederate flag.
It's a battle flag. It's a battle flag. It's not the flag of that country, the country that existed for 4 or 5 years.
So only in America will we protect white fragility and allow them to fly.
Just this week,
traitor's flag.
Just this week, we had the same conversation. I posted a picture of the statue of George Floyd in New Jersey and the one they put in New York. There are like statues of him. And I put on there, I preface it by saying that this is not a statue, about his criminal past. This is just a statue to say that, how the police reform needs to change. That's what that statue was for. And this guy who I know very well posted about, they're taking down statues of everything, of every good person now. And so I said, good people like who? And he started talking about Jesus, how they're saying, Jesus is not white, he's Mediterranean, and all this.
Where are they taking down statues of Jesus?
Well, no.
I just gotta know that.
No, that's the
Who's
argument.
taking down statues of Jesus?
No, there have been pictures taken down because people are saying Jesus.
The picture of the white Jesus?
The white Jesus, right.
And yes.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is that he brought that up. So I said, well, what other good person are you talking about? Because I know he was talking about I didn't want to say it for him. He was talking about the colonial, the Confederate soldiers. He was talking about, that's who he was talking about. But I wanted him to say it.
I misunderstood somewhere along the way.
When I put the picture of George Floyd, he was talking about George Floyd being a criminal, a career criminal. Okay. And I told him that that's not why the statue's there. We're not supporting George Floyd being a criminal. We're supporting George Floyd because he's the face now of police, of a sexual force by the police. He is that face that you see. I see. So the guy mentioned we're removing statues and monuments of good people. So I asked, who are these good people? He mentions Jesus first. And I said, okay, who else is a good person that has a statue taken down? And he wouldn't reply.
Exactly.
He was talking about Confederate soldiers.
He sounds crazy.
So I didn't want to say it. I wanted him to say it. And he didn't
whether
say it.
George Floyd had a criminal history or not, this having a criminal history.
What's that, George? What's that, Darren?
Did he ever get to the point of saying it?
No, he never replied. He never replied to that. And so that's where I want him to get to, because
go ahead, Brie.
These Confederate
What is
soldiers.
his point? What is his point? I still don't understand this. What is the point of bringing up George Floyd's criminal history? Does criminal history does that justify him being killed? It just doesn't make sense to me that this is the arguing. This is what they go straight to. Whenever I see debates like this on Facebook, but George Floyd was a criminal, but George Floyd was a drug addict, but George Floyd did this and that. And it's just like, okay, sir, you commenting. I know you have a dirty past somewhere. You got a dirty little secret somewhere. Is that making it okay for you to die at the hands of police officers? If we discovered your little dirty secret after the fact, would we then be able to justify your killing by your little secret there? Everyone has a history of bad things. Everyone has done something that they're not proud of in their life. It does not justify or warrant a death. It doesn't justify
you being beat up by a police officer.
So why do they keep bringing up George Floyd's criminal history and his past abuse? It does not. It does not justify him being killed. He wasn't doing anything wrong.
It's a talking point. It's just a talking point. But let's move on to the bottom line, Bria. What's your bottom line for today?
I feel like I do this every week, where I just don't have a bottom
line.
I don't know. I want people to get educated on what critical race theory is. Stop watching Fox and CNN and the news. Actually look up what it is, do some research so that you can be educated and informed, and you don't just kind of follow the herd. And I've been there, and I've definitely been there, but I realize the importance of this issue as it gets bigger and bigger and more controversial. You just get educated so you can be on the right side of this, pretty much.
Sounds good. What about you, Darren?
To go completely sideways, unrelated to what we have talked about today, I've been watching some of the Olympic trials, and because I need something positive, and I felt these stories about the Olympians. I feel this every 4 years with the Olympians, because they only get once out of every 4 years to shine. So there's a lot of good stories there, and especially since it took an extra year for us to have the Olympics. I watched Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah, I got the video.
Right? I had never heard of her before I saw her win the 100. Now she's going to be a favorite to win the gold medal. Yeah. And I appreciated her story. She's adopted. Her birth mother just died. She won the trials. So she's going to be representing our country. And then she gets, as soon as she wins, she does a little interview, and then she goes up in the stands and hugs her adoptive mom.
Yeah.
And that just really, really touched me. And then last night, my family and I were watching Simone Biles and the rest of the gymnastics team, and she is truly amazing to me. Because she almost took, it was almost a year, because she was going to quit. She wasn't even going to do the Tokyo Olympics. Yeah. So just a couple months ago, she said, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." And she's still top of her game, and she does more. She does the hardest difficulties that no one else in her that the men are doing, really.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she's just like the Jordan of the sport. So it's just amazing to watch. It's just amazing to hear her story and what she's been through. So that was good to see for me, to see something positive on. So I'm looking forward to the Olympics.
Didn't she just do a move that they tried to didn't she just do a flip or something like that? They tried to make it illegal or something because it was too hard for everyone else to do.
Right.
Didn't that just happen?
I'm not sure if they tried to make it illegal, but in 2016 she wasn't. There was at least one move that she wasn't given credit for, because it was too difficult, and she didn't get the difficulty points to
I
do
think
it.
that's what it was.
So that she has a couple of moves that are nicknamed for her, like the Biles.
Yeah.
Like on the vault, is one of them, and then on the floor exercise, she does another one.
Yeah.
She did them both last night. Anyways, so I'm looking forward to watching the Olympics, and that's been something that I enjoyed this week. So
Yeah.
It was a triple something. I'm sorry, y'all.
I'm just saying, I look at the same, like, for my bottom line. My bottom line is that we all take a look in the mirror at ourselves. Are we doing, as Americans, are we doing the best that we can do to be the best Americans that we can be?
Mhm.
And then you have to define to yourself, what is an American? What is an American? What is patriotic? Do you see yourself as being American and patriotic?
That's
When you
good.
look in the mirror. I mean, look in the mirror and honestly assess yourself. What are you doing? And that's my bottom line. And
That's good. That's good stuff.
And as we go out today, I want to go out with the video of the race, and then we go right into our closing. So if you have anything to say before we go out, I'm just going to go right to those two videos back to back. Our closing, do the race, and then our closing.
The race video? I'm sorry, I don't know.
I'll do it. I got it.
The race with Sha'Carri.
Yeah.
Oh, I just closed it.
No, it's in there now.
I got it.
Go ahead. We're going to go out like that. So I want you all to have a great weekend. Everybody, thank you for joining the show. Thank for all our people who contributed today. We love you, and thank you for supporting the bottom line.
Thank you.
See y'all next week.
All right, bye.
Some people have drawn that comparison, but she is 100% Sha'Carri Richardson, and she wants everybody to know her name.
The wind has died down. It's likely to be legally, so whatever that clock says is going to count.
She ran a 10.64, wind aided in the semi. Who's going to Tokyo? We're about to find out. Women's 100 is underway. JVN Oliver, a fantastic start. She's putting the pressure on Richardson. Here comes Sha'Carri. Richardson's going to Tokyo, 10.87.
Good job.